here's Sam Levitt.
First pitch from Morihone in the air to deep center field. Jackson Merrill's going back. He's got space. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. Randy Vasquez, Jason Adam, and Adrian Morihone combine on a 3-hit shutout at Coors Field, and they put down the last 18 in a row as the Padres collect a 1-0 victory here in Denver to take Game 1 of this series against the Rockies.
A 1-0 game at Coors Field and a Padres win on what planet? That's what we have here tonight as the Padres take this series opener against the Rockies by the final of 1-0. The Padres simply continue to find ways to win as they improve to 16-7 on the season, and they now have won 3 out of 4 on this road trip, 14 out of their last 16 games, 3 wins in a row, and they'll now go for a 6th consecutive series win tomorrow at Coors Field in the middle game of this 3-game series. Welcome into our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show here on the Padres Radio Network. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday night. As always, our post-game coverage brought to you by Jamul Casino Resort. Hey, player, need a little me time? Jamul Spa was just named one of the top 100 spas in America. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. A lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll go back to Denver, hear from Craig Stammen. We have all the radio highlights for you and much more. But man, what an excellent pitching performance by not just Randy Vasquez, but this entire Padres pitching staff tonight, because without him, the Padres do not win this game. I mean, talk about a game where the Padres struck out 15 times. Their lone run came on a bases loaded walk, and they still won the game in Denver at the altitude, in a place that has been sort of a house of horrors in years past. Man, what a job by the Padres pitching staff. And obviously the story begins tonight with Randy Vasquez, who was terrific. 7 shutout innings, really did not get into much trouble at all. He was extremely efficient, 84 pitches. Quite frankly, another night probably could go even deeper in this game, but he was terrific once again. And we talked about it pregame that he had been very good in Denver in 2025 in his couple of starts against the Rockies on the road. But quite frankly, those were very different starts. I mean, I said it pregame. Both those outings at Coors Field last year were starts of 6 innings and quality starts, but he allowed 4 runs on 14 hits, 3 home runs given up in those 12 starts, or I should say 12 innings combined. I mean, that was, what he was doing last year in Denver. It was more Strandy V, right? The nickname. He's got base traffic all over the place, and somehow he's pulling Houdini acts and getting out of it. That's the Randy Vasquez of old. This new Randy Vasquez, the 2026 Randy Vasquez, this Randy Vasquez that is getting tons of swing and miss, that is striking people out, that isn't even dealing with trouble. You did sort of wonder after that last start against the Mariners, where he looked a little bit more human, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits in 4 innings. He'd entered that start with the lowest ERA in the National League at 1.02. Look, I'll admit, I kind of wondered heading into this outing, okay, what's Randy going to look like tonight coming off his toughest start of the year? Not a terrible start, but certainly his toughest of the season to this point. He's in Denver. He's at the altitude. What is Randy going to look like tonight? And he was just sensational. I mean, what more could you have wanted from Randy Vasquez in this start tonight? 7 shutout innings, and then he hands it to the bullpen, and this bullpen continues to be an enormous advantage for this team for a lot of reasons, Mason Miller being the number one reason. But look, they clearly wanted to stay away from Mason tonight. He has pitched a lot lately, and you get that, but also Craig Stammen and Ruben Niebla have the luxury to do it because they've got guys that can close in that bullpen that aren't named Mason Miller. I thought Jesse and Tony made the point during the wrap-up. Adrian Morihone is closing games for probably most other teams in baseball if he's on another team. In fact, if Mason Miller wasn't here, he might be the closer for this team. He's that good. So the ability to have Adam pitch the 8th inning, to stay away from Miller tonight, Morihone goes out, puts together a 1-2-3 9th inning, and ultimately Vasquez, Adam, and Morihone end up retiring the final 18 batters of this game and completing a 3-hit shutout. There was the single by Goodman in the 4th inning to begin the 4th inning. From that point on, the Rockies did not have another base runner. 18 in a row set down in what was either a scoreless game or a 1-0 game. You want to talk about having no margin for error as a pitching staff, and the Padres did not have it tonight. Look, the offense, hey, those guys in that lineup, they owe Randy a steak dinner, whether it be in Colorado or Mexico City or somewhere later this season, because the Padres do not win this game if Randy isn't as good as he was and if the bullpen isn't as good as those guys were tonight, because there was no margin for error in a 1-0 game. I mean, this is Colorado. I mean, bloop and a blast. You see it all the time, these crazy games, and this is a Rockies team that can score. So really impressive by the Padres pitching staff tonight. I mean, just really, really impressive. And if they aren't really as good and at times perfect as they were tonight, the Padres don't win this game. And I think it brings you back to the bigger picture of what the Padres are doing right now. And in the last few games in particular have been just games, not against the best teams in baseball. I think the Angels are going to end up being actually pretty good. Might be in the AL playoff picture or in the mix as the season goes on. I don't think the Rockies are going to be there. But with that said, they're playing really close games and just sort of finding ways to win them. You think about the way they won Saturday, a game that was scoreless going into the 8th inning. They find a way to scratch across some runs, win that game 4-1. On Sunday, Michael King, 5 scoreless innings. Again, they have a 1-0 lead going into the 7th inning. They've got a guy like Bryce Johnson contribute with an RBI base hit in the 7th inning to make it 2-0. Bullpen really good. Bradley Rodriguez gets 5 outs. Miller shuts the door. They win the game 2-1. And here today, a second consecutive 1-run win where, look, was it perfect? No. Do you want to strike out 15 times and only have 1 run on 6 hits in Denver? No. Sign me up for more offense. Please. But found a way. And it does feel like the early part of this season, they are simply finding ways. I mean, whether it's offense, whether it's comeback wins, whether it's a game like tonight, where it's just super well pitched, and Randy Vasquez, who now has a 1.88 ERA in 5 starts. I mean, bottom line, everybody, Randy Vasquez has been one of the best pitchers in the National League early this season, almost a month in. So they're finding ways, and that typically is the trademark of a good team. It's very early here on April 21st, but the fact that the Padres are sitting at 16-7 to begin the season, and you don't feel like they're firing on all cylinders yet. I mean, if you're being honest about it, doesn't feel like the offense is starting pitching-wise. I'm not going to get too far into it, but starting pitching-wise, you certainly have questions and some concerns with some of the injuries and Pivetta being out and Musgrove still being a little bit unclear as to when he's coming back. Bullpen obviously continues to be very, very good, but even the bullpen at times in this early part of the season has been shakier than what you would have anticipated. But again, they're just finding ways right now. I mean, 16-7 is nothing to sneeze at. That's a great start to the year. And it does feel like these last few games, they're just finding a way. And tonight, look, wasn't all pretty, right? Bases loaded walk is your only run in Denver. You don't expect to win that game. You don't. I don't care what the Rockies' record ultimately will be. You don't. When you only score 1 run in Denver, and they find a way, one of the very rare 1-0 games in Colorado, and the Padres simply find a way to win it behind what was a stellar outing for Randy Vasquez, a well-deserved second win of the season for Randy. When we come back, all the radio highlights for you, quote-unquote highlights. Weren't a ton of them tonight, but we'll make 2. We'll hear from Craig Stammen coming up a little bit later as well. Padres win this series opener in Denver by a final score of 1-0. We're back after this on the Padres Radio Network.
was a boy, she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? He was a punk, she did ballet. I say, he wanted her.
Padres win it here tonight in Colorado. Final score, Padres 1 and the Rockies nothing as the Padres take this series opener. We'll go back to Denver. Hear from Craig Stammen. Should have some additional post-game reaction for you as well. Let's recap this one from start to finish.
Which moments determine the outcome of today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game highlights on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, for a third straight game, we had a really low-scoring affair early on. Rockies right-hander Jimmy Herget struck out the side to begin the game. Randy Vasquez worked around a single in a scoreless bottom of the first inning. Chase Dollander, the Rockies' bulk innings guy tonight, took over in the second, and he was really good. Dollander threw 2 scoreless innings to begin his night. Meanwhile, Randy Vasquez was great early. He allowed a one-out single in the third with Mickey Moniak coming up.
The 1-2, Moniak swings, grounds it to second. Cronenworth has it, flipped to second one. Bogarts to first is in time, and it is an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play.
So 3 scoreless innings for Randy Vasquez. We went to the fourth inning. Dollander struck out the side in the fourth. He struck out 2 more in a scoreless fifth, but Randy Vasquez also pitched 2 scoreless innings in the fourth and fifth. He was at just 65 pitches through 5. A scoreless game going to the sixth inning, a rarity at the altitude in Denver. Jake Cronenworth hit a one-out hustle double, a ground ball through the right side of the infield. Jake doing a good job hustling it out, and he had a 2-bagger with 2 outs. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit an infield single. Jackson Merrill was then hit by a pitch to load the bases. Manny Machado was next. The count went to 3-2.
3-2 to Machado. Manny takes high ball 4th, and the first run of the night will cross the plate on a bases-loaded walk here in the 6th. Cronenworth hits home, and it's 1-0.
All right, so nothing flashy, but the Padres would take it, a 1-0 lead. That's all they scored in the sixth inning. They stranded the bases loaded. Randy Vasquez went back out for the bottom of the sixth inning. He pitched a 1-2-3 frame. Padres still leading 1-0, going bottom 7. Randy Vasquez delivered another 1-2-3 inning. 12 in a row set down by Vasquez, 84 pitches for Randy V. He was done after 7 and in line for the win. Padres weren't adding on. Rockies reliever Juan Mejia threw a scoreless top of the 8th. Jason Adam came on for the bottom half. He spun a 1-2-3 inning. So the Padres still led 1-0 going to the 9th inning. With Mason Miller pitching a lot lately, the Padres went to Adrian Morejon for a save chance. In the bottom of the 9th inning, the score still 1-0. Morejon struck out Edward Julien. He struck out Mickey Moniak. The game was left up to the Rockies' Hunter Goodman.
First pitch from Morejon in the air to deep center field. Jackson Merrill's going back. He's got space. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. Randy Vasquez, Jason Adam, and Adrian Morejon combine on a 3-hit shutout at Coors Field, and they put down the last 18 in a row as the Padres collect a 1-0 victory here in Denver to take game 1 of this series against the Rockies.
And that was that here tonight. Fewest highlights I think we've had all year. You'll take it. Padres win it 1-0. A bases-loaded walk in the 6th inning issued by Chase Dollander, who otherwise was really, really, really good in this game. That is the lone run of the ball game, and the Padres pick up a series opening win in Colorado. Final totals here tonight for the Padres: 1 run, 6 hits, no errors. For the Rockies, no runs, 3 hits, and 1 error. Padres improve to 16-7. The Rockies drop to 9-15. We'll step aside. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stammen. Plus, we should have some additional post-game reaction for you from inside the Padres clubhouse. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard and much, much more. If you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973 is always the phone number to call. Padres 1, Rockies 0. The Pods win the series opener in Denver on the Padres Radio Network. And the Rockies nothing as the Padres win again. They've won 3 in a row now, 3-1 on this 8-game road trip to Anaheim, Denver, and Mexico City. 4 games remaining, 2 left in Denver, then 2 against the Diamondbacks in Mexico City on Saturday and Sunday. The Padres improved to 16-7. They have won 14 of their last 16 games. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We'll go back to Denver in just a moment. Hear from Craig Stammen. Again, the big highlights in case you're just joining us. Randy Vasquez, 7 shutout innings. He continues to be terrific. A 1.88 ERA through 5 starts and a 2-0 record. Bullpen got it done. Jason Adam, a 1-2-3 8th inning. Adrian Morejon, a 1-2-3 9th inning, picking up his first save of the season. Padres seemingly wanted to stay away from Mason Miller today. You understand it. He's pitched a lot lately, and when you have the options the Padres do in their bullpen, look, it's a luxury to have where you can say, you know what? We think we can actually get through this thing without having to utilize Mason tonight, and that's exactly what they did. The lone run of the game came in the 6th inning, a bases-loaded walk. Manny Machado collecting the RBI, and that was it. Padres win it 1-0. A combined 1 run on 9 hits in Denver for both teams. And luckily, Padres were on the right side of the 1-0 score as they win this series opener at Coors Field. Let's go back to Denver and hear some post-game reaction.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stammen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Can you sum up Randy's outing?
It's fantastic. Hard to pitch like that, Coors Field. Did a tremendous job throwing strikes, kept his pitch count down, got a lot of swing and miss. Just an outstanding outing from Randy.
What's going on with Mason?
He just had the day off today. And we decided Adrian was a good person for the 9th inning, so Mason will be fine going forward, but we got to take it easy on him. We've used him a lot over here over the last week or so, and he's not a robot.
I guess with the day off, just the idea, when was that kind of decided, and was that Mason saying, hey?
No, that was us deciding that probably on Sunday, that if he pitched Sunday, he had 2 days off. We're going to give him the day off and then the next day off. So kind of internally thought about it ahead of time, and, we felt good about it today still.
That being the case, how nice is it to have Adrian Morejon throwing like he is?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's, when you're, amazing closers down, you get a starter that goes 7, and you got Jason Adam pitches the 8th, 1-2-3, and Adrian Morejon comes in the 9th and goes 1-2-3. That's, not many people have the luxury of having that when their closers down, and we have the luxury of doing that. So those guys it's not just one guy being great down there. They have, they're a great group of pitchers, and they pick each other up, and they know when their turn is, they're excited about pitching those important innings also.
I know you ended up loading the bases, but Jake hustling the double, how big is that?
Yeah, that was huge. That's just momentum, because it was early in the game, it was stagnant atmosphere. We weren't getting anything going. We struck out on the side. They were, their pitchers kind of had us in a tailspin. Jake gets one through the hole, and then, like he always does, hustling everywhere, gets in that double and made us feel like, all right, we can score a run here. And then, a infield hit by a pitch, and then a walk, and we score a run, So, those hustle, those finishing plays is what we talk about, can win us some games. Today won us a game.
Not your typical Coors Field game, obviously. I mean, you saw it from both sides. What did you see on from the Rockies pitching, especially Dollander?
Yeah, they pitched great. Dollander's got some really good stuff. Got that really hard heater. We just couldn't quite catch up to it tonight. And then they got some good bullpen guys too. They've got a much improved pen from years past, and they're going to be a tough out with those guys at the back end.
Yeah. You expect everybody available going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we assess them every single day, and we look at the workload not just today and yesterday, but weeks past, and just measure how these guys are so that they can last the full season and not just be ready for April.
But your bullpen's in good shape for the next couple of days after a start like that.
Yeah, exactly. Start like that, keeps a lot of people available. We used 2 guys that went 1 inning, and their pitch count was really down. So, we should be full speed ahead tomorrow and the next day here at Coors.
Okay. At some point, you'd like some slug from Manny, but what has he shown you with his eye this year?
Yeah, exactly. I think Manny knows that he's not swinging it great right now, and he's finding a way to impact the game in a different way. And just knowing him from years past, I don't know if he would have done that. I think he would have tried to swing his way out of this. And this one, he's kind of using his eye to take advantage and get on base and, piece it together until he does feel good at the plate, which is coming soon.
That was Padres manager Craig Stammen following this 1-0 win for the Padres against the Rockies tonight. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios. Let's give a little bit more context to why I think the Padres wanted to stay away from Mason Miller tonight. Had he pitched tonight, it would have been 4 out of 6 days for Mason, okay, which is a lot. It's not impossible. He had the off day yesterday. He did pitch on Saturday and Sunday. He pitched on Thursday of last week, but 4 out of 6 days is a lot. And I have zero problem with the Padres saying on April 21st, when they've used Mason a lot and they have the quality of bullpen they have, of them saying, you know what, if we can get through it tonight, even if it's a save situation, we'd really like to not use him. We want to give him another day. We want to pace him a little bit. He is so good and so important to this bullpen. I have zero problem with that on April 21st. Okay. Now, if it's September 21st and you're in a pennant race, maybe you say it's a little bit of a different story. But on April 21st and you're playing as well as you've played and you're winning games, I have zero problem with it. And bottom line, it worked tonight. They got through a 1-0 game in Denver without having to use Mason Miller and relying on other guys. It's pretty impressive. And it worked. I mean, it looks genius tonight. It really does. So zero problem with that whatsoever. I thought the last question there regarding Manny, it kind of highlights, I think, what has been pretty incredible about this start. And that is the fact that, and I don't think this is debatable, offensively, while they have had some stretches where they're scoring a lot of runs and have been productive, the big guys, the stars, it's not like these guys are tearing the cover off the ball. I mean, consider Jackson Merrill is now 0 for 16 in his last 4 games. Consider Manny is hitting only 178, although, to Kevin Acey's point with his question, he's walking quite a bit and he's getting on base. Consider that Fernando Tatis Jr., he's hitting 265, which is fine. Had 2 hits tonight, which is great. Doesn't have a home run yet this year. Consider that Jake Cronenworth is hitting 155. If I told you those things in a vacuum, what I just said about the offense, about Fernando not having a home run, Manny hitting 178, Cronenworth hitting 155, Merrill on a bit of a cold stretch, and Merrill's at 213. If I would have said that to you and I didn't tell you what the Padres record was, I guarantee you would not look at me and say, 23 games in, they're 16-7. Nope. You wouldn't say that to me. You'd say, man, they must be off to a tough start as a group, right? So look, again, it's only a good thing. The fact that they are playing as well as they are and they are winning games and they are 16-7, despite clearly the big guys in this offense have not put it into gear yet. And I'd be willing to bet that they will based on the back of the baseball cards. But if you looked at what some of these guys have done in a total vacuum, you would not think this team is 16-7. So look, ultimately, it's a good thing. Ultimately, it's a big silver lining in the fact that a lot of these guys really aren't getting it going yet. I mean, the fact that you've won as many games as you have, hopefully it's a sign of the type of team you have. And hopefully it means that when those guys do get going, you'll be even better. So I'll tell you what, 23 games in, it's been kind of a fascinating start when you consider some of the offensive issues, when you consider not having Nick Pivetta and some of the depth that's already being tested in the rotation. But again, you look at these last 3 games in particular, and I think it's a really good example of a team, and I know this is super cliche, but a team that's just finding a way to win. And the bullpen, certainly the last 3 days, last 3 games rather, has been a big part of it, no doubt. The strength of their bullpen has been on full display these last 3 wins. Absolutely. But they're finding ways. And look, home runs are great. and having the Mannies and Fernandos and Cronenworths and Merrills of the world tearing the cover off the ball is great. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the win, the W is the thing, and they're finding ways to do it right now. We'll step aside. When we come back, get into our daily awards. If you want to get a phone call in, 833-288-0973. Phone number to call. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard and more as the Padres win it 1-0 in Colorado tonight. Our postgame coverage continues after this. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Padres win it 1-0 over the Rockies here tonight. It's funny, before the break, wasn't I just saying on April 21st? And then I was saying, I forget exactly what I said, but I said on April 21st, blah, blah, blah. On September 21st, blah, blah, blah. And then the next song we have out of the commercial is Little Earth, Wind, and Fire, 21st night of September. Just my brain. I can't even remember what I was referring to when I did that whole thing before the break. But anyway, we'll get to your phone calls here coming up. 833-288-0973, the phone number to call. Let's tell you about tonight's relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher entered the game and slammed the door shut? This is today's relief pitcher of the game, brought to you by San Diego criminal defense attorney David P. Shapiro. We help good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. Learn more at davidpshapirolaw.com.
First pitch from Morejon in the air to deep center field. Jackson Merrill's going back. He's got space. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. Randy Vasquez, Jason Adam, and Adrian Morejon combine on a 3-hit shutout at Coors Field, and they put down the last 18 in a row as the Padres collect a 1-0 victory here in Denver to take game one of this series against the Rockies.
Adrian Morahone, our relief pitcher of the game, the 1-2-3 ninth inning with the slimmest of leads, a 1-0 game. He strikes out Julian, Moniak, and Goodman, 1-2-3 hitters in the Rockies lineup. So here tonight, no doubt about it, Adrian Morahone, our relief pitcher of the game, his first save of the season, his 6th career save. And on top of that, being able to go to Morahone in that spot meant the Padres were able to give Mason Miller a little extra day of rest, something that they clearly wanted to do from the outset of this game. So for all those reasons, Adrian Morahone, our relief pitcher of the game, should also mention Jason Adam, 1-2-3 8th inning. That was part of 18 in a row set down by Vasquez, Adam, and Morahone to end this game. So everybody did their part, but Adrian will take home relief pitcher of the game honors here tonight. Let's tell you about the heart of the order.
Let's take the pulse of the Padres and check in on the heart of the order. Presented by Palomar Health, the official healthcare provider of 97.3 The Fan. Palomar Health, leading with heart for every patient. Palomar Health is reimagining healthcare.
Part of the order here tonight, not a super productive night for the 3, 4, 5 hitters, Merrill, Machado, and Bogarts. Jackson went 0 for 3. Manny went 0 for 3, although he did walk and collected the lone RBI of the game, lone run of the game. And Xander Bogarts had a single in the 2nd inning. So, on one hand, it was a 1 for 10 night with a single for the 3, 4, 5 hitters. On the other hand, Manny Machado, the cleanup man, had the game-winning RBI. So, there, take that. 1 for 10. Who cares? Manny won the game with the bases loaded walk in the 6th inning. That's a look at the heart of the order here tonight. Jackson would be good for him to get going a little bit. He is now 0 for 16 in his last 4 games. It's been a rough road trip for Jackson, but surely I'd imagine pretty good chance he'll turn it around here soon. And so that's a quick look at the heart of the order here tonight. All right, let's go to the phones here. 833-288-0973. Phone number to call, 833-288-0973. The phone number. We begin things. Let's go to Nick in Lakeside. Hi, Nick. You're on the Padres Radio Network on this Tuesday night. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Sam. Thanks for taking my call. I'd like your comments. Just my observations. I know it's very early, but the team this year as compared to last year, it feels much more complete, balanced. No, I don't see any weaknesses beyond starting pitching and, the injuries, Estrada and Pivetta, Musgrove. If those pitchers can get healthy, two things. I don't think AJ has much to do at the trade deadline, and I think if everybody stays healthy, the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick, appreciate the phone call. I mean, look, we're so far away from the trade deadline, and you just don't know what's going to happen as far as what you need and injuries. Hopefully, you don't have to deal with any of those. But I hesitate to even get into what AJ is going to have to do or not do at the deadline. We are months away from that. It's April 21st. I will say this, Nick. It does feel like this group, certainly if you compare it to the early part of last season, is definitely more complete. Bench-wise, catcher-wise, one thing that I think, A, AJ did a good job of, and B, Craig Stammen's doing a good job of, is they are really utilizing every part of this roster. I mean, the fact that Craig gives these guys off days, gets guys involved. You get Ty France a start. He delivers with 3 hits. Miguel Andujar has been really good. By the way, Andujar had another base hit tonight. Castellanos has been a bit of a cold stretch, but look, he's in a tough spot where he's doing something he's never really done, which is not play every day and sometimes not play very much over the course of a week. But you could argue, should have a home run or 2 by now if it was later in the season at Petco Park or if he was playing in a different ballpark. So I'm with you, Nick. They feel more complete than they did this time a year ago. I think they've done a really good job at keeping everybody involved. I think it's been really, really good, and I think it creates a very good vibe inside that clubhouse when everybody feels like they're contributing. Bryce Johnson on Sunday was a great example. Ends up having 2 hits, including the game-winning hit. Look, I think with the rotation, and I don't want to cause alarm, because they're 16-7 and they're playing really well and they're finding ways to win, and they are off to a terrific start through 23 games. Absolutely, especially when you consider they were at 1.2 2-5. So they've played great, and I don't want to take anything away from that. With that said, Nick, I think you make a fair point that I think over the long haul, over the course of 162, yes, the starting pitching is going to get tested because the Padres, without Nick Pivetta, with Joe's timeline still a little bit up in the air, this depth is going to get tested in a real way. They're going to need Walker Buehler to continue to be good. They're going to need German Marquez to look like the guy we saw Saturday in Anaheim. They're going to need whoever fills Pivetta's spot, whether it's Waldron or if it's JP Sears, whoever it is, they're going to need them to pitch well. And quite frankly, for Matt Waldron, pitch better than he did on Friday night. They're going to need Randy Vasquez to keep doing what he's doing and be this guy. When Griffin Canning comes back, they're going to need Griffin Canning to be the guy that he was on the Mets pre-injury. That's a lot of things to ask for. You're asking, the depth of this rotation is being tested immediately out of the gates this season. And to this point, the Padres are piecing it together and they're finding ways to win. But do they need to continue to do that? And is there, I suppose, if I'm being negative, a version of things where you could see it going sideways? I guess that's not fair to me yet. Let that happen before. I don't want to predict that, but I think it's pretty clear the depth of this rotation is being tested pretty quickly. And yeah, you would imagine as you get more towards the trade deadline, if you have a starting pitching need, yeah, you'll address it. But we're so far away from that. But even with some of the injuries to the rotation and some of the guys not hitting, look, they're finding ways, and it's very hard to argue with that and not be happy about that. It's great. They're finding ways to win. But look, I think it's two things to be true at once. You can be ecstatic about how they're playing and also say the depth of this rotation is being tested, and you hope it can stay firm as the season goes on and as we get into May and June and so on. All right, let's go to Eric, Chula Vista. Eric, you're on the Padres Radio Network. Go ahead.
Hey, Sam, just got a couple of comments and then a question. First comment is this team's almost resemblance of last year when we relied a lot on our bullpen and our pitching early on, of course, and then it was evident towards the middle and the end when we didn't have a lot of offense. Second, Randy Vasquez, I mean, with his this is probably his best start of the season, going back to the first one against Detroit. And I think it's the first time he went into 7 innings. He did amazing. Mm-hmm. And then the question, Randy, what do you think about giving Kyle Hart a chance to start maybe a few games in the 5-hole?
Yeah.
I think he's been floating around last year, and I think we can use a left-handed starter. Thank you.
All right, Eric, appreciate the phone call. I'll address what you said here in a second. Let's quickly pause for station ID on the Padres Radio Network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
This is Ramon Laureano from the San Diego Padres. You're listening to Padres Baseball on the Padres Radio Network.
An Odyssey sports station.
Sam Levitt with you here inside our San Diego studios as we continue to wrap up this 1-0 win for the Padres against the Rockies. Eric, going back to your phone call, look, I don't think it's a crazy idea to use Hart in that 5th spot. I don't know how much they want to do it. I know, look, Hart has been a little up and down, although for the most part, he's been pretty good. I know he struggled a little bit the other day, and Brad Glay had to come in and kind of, save him, did ultimately allow one of those inherited runners to score. You have to remember when you look at his ERA, there was that one outing where he went 2 scoreless innings, then was asked to go back out for a third, got in trouble, and then a bunch of inherited runners for another guy came in to score, and it totally ballooned his ERA. Like, I've seen a lot of, as I look on social media and, I see the posts, I see what people say. I've seen a lot of frustration about Kyle Hart. I don't feel like a lot of it's warranted, to be honest. I actually think he's been pretty good, and I think he's actually a pretty useful piece out of the bullpen because of his versatility. He can go multiple innings. He can also be a guy that you can bring in in a lefty lane. It's not a bad idea. I don't see it. That's not how they've really seem to want to use him this year. And then you'd have to really have him stretched out if you're going to do that. I mean, then he's got to have the ability to go, 5-6 innings. I mean, I doubt you're going to start him and he's going to go 3 innings. So I would imagine if they really wanted Hart to be a starter, then you got to probably put him down at AAA and let him stretch out. I don't see it, and I think there are some other options before you get to that point. But Eric, not a bad idea. All right, let's step aside quickly. Might squeeze in another phone call or two before we go. When we come back, look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have our play of the game, and so we'll wrap things up. Get you ready for the middle game of this series tomorrow in Colorado. That's next. Our Jamul Casino Resort Padres post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. Padres win it 1-0 against the Rockies here tonight as they take the series opener in Denver. We'll go back to Colorado inside the Padres clubhouse in a moment. Hear from tonight's starting pitcher, Randy Vasquez. As always, our post-game coverage brought to you by Jamul Casino Resort. Hey, player, the rooftop pool's open, 8 passes are available, and the spa is calling your name. Jamul Casino Resort, the player's place. Randy Vasquez tonight, terrific outing once again. 7 shutout innings. The third time in his career he went 7 innings. That ties a career high. It is his second ever 7-inning shutout performance. The only other time he's done it was his final start of last season on September 23rd against Milwaukee. So just the second time in Randy's career tonight, he has gone 7 shutout innings. He was fantastic, lowered his ERA in 5 starts to 1.88. He was very efficient as well. 84 pitches, 56 of them for strikes. And quite simply, when you're talking about a 1.88 ERA through 5 starts, Randy Vasquez has been one of the best starting pitchers in the National League this first month of the season. He has been that good, and it was once again on display here tonight. Let's go back to Denver at Coors Field inside the Padres clubhouse. Here post-game reaction from Randy Vasquez alongside interpreter Pedro Gutierrez.
Randy, what do you think you did particularly well tonight?
¿Qué crees que hiciste hoy bien, particularmente algo en específico?
Lo mismo, seguir el plan de ataque y confiar en mi picheo como lo he venido haciendo.
Same old, just, trusting my game plan and executing my pitches just as I've been able to do so far.
Same old, even though it is in Coors Field. And you've been pretty good here. What do you like about pitching in Coors Field?
Lo mismo, pero obviamente las circunstancias son distintas porque es este estadio, es Coors Field, pero aún así has tenido éxito aquí. ¿Qué es de algo de este estadio que te favorece?
En realidad me favorece todo. En realidad, yo sí, a pesar de que la altura de este estadio, yo no me entro eso en la cabeza, yo voy a competir.
I'm just here to compete. Honestly, everything just goes in my favor, altitude or not. I don't focus on that. It just doesn't go into my game plan, so I just come and execute.
How high is your confidence right now in this season?
¿Qué tan alta tiene la confianza ahorita?
Al 100%.
100%. I think you got that.
Oh, it's full.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make adjustments to pitch here?
¿Hace algunos ajustes para lanzar aquí?
No, lo mismo, la misma rutina, todo lo mismo.
No, just stick to the same routine and pretty much everything the same.
Some guys with maybe not the break that you would normally get, maybe they aim at a different spot. Is any of that different here?
Hay muchos que tal vez quieren poner el picheo en otra zona por la manera en que rompe. Es algo que tal vez...
En realidad sí, con mi curva y mi cambio no estaban haciendo los mismos movimientos, pero no me enfoqué en eso y seguí atacándolo como estaban saliendo.
Yes, particularly with the curve, with the cutter and the changeup. That's I try to adjust a little bit if necessary, but if they're working like today, then it's not really necessary.
The last one, the Rockies swing early. They were swinging early. How did that make you adjust or anything?
Los Rockies van por ese primer picheo y no fue la excepción. Cambia un poco la mentalidad cuando estás viendo cómo trabajan ellos.
En realidad no, yo sabía que ellos venían a hacer swing y lo que yo pensaba era localizar mi picheo.
No, not really. Like I knew beforehand that they were swing early in the at-bat, so we're just trying to look at my pitches.
All right, that was Randy Vasquez inside the Padres clubhouse. After today's game, Padres win it 1-0. Randy goes 7 shutout innings. I like that. It's a question and answer there. He was asked about where his confidence is at, and he said 100%. He looks like a guy that is pitching with that kind of confidence right now. Again, look, I think you take the early part of this season, what Randy is doing is beyond impressive. I mean, the story he's becoming for this team is really a great one when you consider how he got here via the Juan Soto trade, right? I mean, Randy was a guy, he was not the headliner from that trade. I mean, Michael King was the headliner. We don't need to rehash it right now. Obviously, Kyle Higashioka ends up being great in 2024. Drew Thorpe, who they got a prospect, they flip him, part of the deal for Dylan Cease. I'm not going to rehash all the tentacles of the Soto trade, but Randy is part of it. I mean, he's part of that trade and is increasingly a winning part of that deal for the Padres, and was somebody who the last couple of seasons, I think fairly at times you kind of wondered, okay, what is Randy going to be as far as a major league pitcher? I mean, is he going to be kind of a back end of the rotation guy that gets in a ton of trouble, figures it out, finds his way through? Is that the ceiling for Randy? But then the second half of last year, things started to turn, and the velocity went up, the swing and miss went up, and all of a sudden there were some signs that Randy was starting to develop into something a little bit more than what he had been. And you went into spring training wondering, okay, is he going to continue that into 2026? And the Padres clearly had a lot of confidence in what he was doing and the uptick in velocity. And even in spring training, the uptick in velo was there, which made you feel pretty good about, okay, well, that's good. That's carried over into spring training. And I know he wasn't great the last time out against the Mariners, but you couldn't have not asked for a better start to the year from Randy. For him to have a 1.88 ERA, 5 starts in to this point, and he's got a long way to go. To this point, he has answered that question of like, yeah, clearly the ceiling is much higher than what it appeared to be, say, early last year. And that's a big development for the Padres and Randy Vasquez himself. Because right now, the way Randy's pitching, Randy, the early part of this season, is looking more like a front line starter than a back end of the rotation kind of guy. I mean, that's the way he's pitching right now, and he's got a long way to go. We got a long year ahead here, but it has been great to see, really. And for him to carry over that momentum one year to the next, and you never know if that's going to happen. But clearly for Randy, it is. It's happening, and he was great tonight. Again, I don't care who's in the lineup for the Rockies. I don't care what their record is. I don't care what their payroll is. Anytime you go 7 shutout in Denver, by the way, in a game that is scoreless or 1-0 the whole time you're in there, that is an awfully impressive outing. Padres win it 1-0 against the Rockies. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
All right, you want scores? I'll give you scores. Here we go. We have a few games still going on right now. A's leading the Mariners 4-2 in Seattle in the 8th inning. White Sox ahead of the D-backs 8-2 in the 9th inning in Arizona. Giants lead the Dodgers 3-1 in San Francisco in the 9th inning. If that score does hold, and in fact, I think that game actually just went final, if I'm looking at this correctly. Let's say if it holds for now. Padres and Dodgers, although it's April 21st, they would be tied at 16-7, same record, a tie for first place in the NL West. In that game, they just go final. So Padres and Dodgers officially tied for first place in the National League West. Not that we're going crazy with standings here in April, but just note it. Finals today, other finals aside from that one. Guardians beat the Astros 8-5 in Cleveland. Reds beat up on the Rays 12-6 in Tampa Bay. 5 home runs in that game for the Reds, including 2 by Ellie De La Cruz. Brewers beat the Tigers 12-4 in Detroit. Cardinals beat the Marlins 5-3 in Miami. Nationals beat the Braves 11-4 in DC. James Wood is 8th home run of the year in that game. Yankees beat the Red Sox 4-0 at Fenway. Giancarlo Stanton, a solo home run early in that game, his 3rd of the season. Oh boy, the Mets. The Mets losing a 12th consecutive game in New York tonight. They lose 5-3 against the Twins, a game they led 3-0 courtesy of a Francisco Lindor home run. The Twins tied it and then took a lead with 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning, and the Mets fall 5-3. They are 7-16, and the Mets have now lost 12 in a row. Yikes. Royals beat the Orioles in walk-off fashion tonight 6-5. Cubs beat the Phillies 7-4 in Chicago. Nico Horner, Seiya Suzuki hit home runs in that game for the Cubbies. Rangers beat the Pirates 5-1 in Arlington. And finally, Blue Jays over the Angels today in Anaheim 4-2. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday. Padres beat the Rockies 1-0. Well, our play of the game on a night like this, it's got to be the lone run of the ball game, right?
One bounce, one hit, one pitch can be the difference between victory and defeat. What was the most important play in today's game? This is today's play of the game. Presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating and Air, Restoration and Flood. We know how.
3-2 to Machado. And he takes high ball 4th. And the first run of the night will cross the plate on a bases-loaded walk here in the 6th. Cronenworth hits home, and it's 1-0.
Yeah! Bases-loaded walk. Our play of the game. I love it. Hey, I think that might be a first in my post-game tenure, 5 seasons in. A bases-loaded walk, Manny Machado at the plate, a 3-2 pitch from Chase Dolander, who, by the way, was excellent tonight. 6 innings of relief. He gave up 1 run, and that was the 1 run. With the bases loaded, 3-2 pitch. It misses. RBI for Manny. Jake Cronenworth, who to his credit started that inning with a hustle double. He scores the only run of the game, and the Padres hang on to win it 1-0. That bases loaded walk by Manny, our play of the game, had to be that way tonight. I love it. Hey, you know what? Had it been the other way, Rockies 1, Padres nothing, it wouldn't be as enjoyable. But because it was the Padres with the 1 run via the bases loaded walk, it is extra enjoyable. And that is our play of the game here tonight. All right, looking ahead to tomorrow, it'll be game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and Rockies. Pitching matchup tomorrow: on the mound for the Padres, right-hander Walker Buehler, and on the mound for the Colorado Rockies, right-hander Tomoyuki Sugano. Again, first pitch tomorrow, 5:40 p.m., and our pregame coverage will begin at 4:40. As always, if you missed any portion of our post-game coverage, you can go back and listen to all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast, available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. You can also go back on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and watch any portion of our post-game coverage there as well. Final totals here tonight for the Padres: 1 run, 6 hits, no errors. They left on 8. For the Rockies, no runs, 3 hits, 1 error. They left on 3. Winning pitcher tonight, Randy Vasquez, who improves to 2-0. Losing pitcher, Chase Dolander, who drops to 2-2. And the save goes to Adrian Morejon, his first of the season. Time of game, 2 hours and 27 minutes. And the crowd at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado, 15,672. Once again, first pitch tomorrow, 5:40 p.m. Our pregame coverage begins at 4:40. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Kyle Ovenshire, I'm Sam Levitt, saying so long and good night from inside our San Diego studios. Again, the final score tonight: the San Diego Padres 1 and the Colorado Rockies nothing. Let's go to sleep. Talk to you tomorrow on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody.